Hi there. So, we want to talk to you today briefly about, excuse me, who we are and what we do. We are TINT. The best way to frame an understanding of what we do is simple. TINT is in the business of mining rare talent at scale. Simplistically, the product itself is analogous to a powerful magnet pulling needles from a haystack. So let's begin with a few pointers that will guide us in the right direction insofar as context is concerned. We now live in a talent economy. Scientific studies have long shown us empirical evidence that the right people usually maximize returns. And in line with the Pareto principle, these studies show that 20% of people are responsible for 80% of the results in a wide range of jobs, industries, and organizations. So a small proportion of people tend to drive a large proportion of the results. In other words, there are a vital few individuals who are the force multipliers in every setting. And it is these vital few force multipliers, this rare talent that TINT is really concerned with. There has, over time, been a shift from human resources to a concept of human impact. In the early 1960s, the question of people's abilities was typically framed through the lens of human resources. So people were seen as human resources, the means to an end. You had an HR department and an HR manager. Over time, the thinking evolved, it became a little bit more sophisticated. People started to recognize that human skills tend to differentiate one person over another. This then morphed into an emphasis on human performance, who performs the best, who performs the most consistently. But in today's world, the new norm is human impact. And that's what rare talent brings to the table. They really have impact. They push the limit of a new norm of human impact as we understand it. This question of rare talent bringing huge impact is a global phenomenon. It is happening all around the world. It's significant across the globe. O'Boyle and O'Quinnis's famous study conducted 5 different studies across a span of industries and occupations and performance metrics, and found, the data actually told us that, impactful talent follows a power law distribution rather than a normal distribution. There's another example with Google's pay unfair policy, where inside Google, you could have 2 individuals doing exactly the same thing with the same KPIs, but the one who drives more results, who has more of an impact, that rare talent is compensated an order of magnitude more than his counterpart, who may not necessarily bring the same results to the organization. The same idea has even hit India, where there's a shift where companies think about compensation through the lens of rewarding those high performers that have a really big impact for the organization. Maybe let's review and consider how different people have been going about trying to find this rare talent, how to identify this high impact talent. And we'll look at 2 examples with Elon Musk and Steve Jobs in the next slide. We know that there are great thinkers who make it a priority to build exceptional teams made up of special rare talent. They really love and appreciate great impact players. So Elon Musk says, you want to make sure that if somebody great wants to join the company, that they actually get an interview. This is one of my big worries, he says. So it's clearly vexing Elon. He goes on to say, if Nikola Tesla was alive today, could he get an interview? And if not, we are doing something wrong. And he says, and I'm not totally sure he would get an interview. So if one of the most brilliant engineers who ever lived could maybe not get an interview, we should fix that. and make sure that we're not barring the doors from talent or that we're looking at the right things. So it's quite a telling statement from Elon. He understands that he cannot just sit there and check on, micromanage on each hire that walks through the door with the same level of scrutiny. But what's striking is that he almost sounds scared, almost worried that his process and system of talent identification is very likely missing out on real rare talent gems. So he's concerned about scaling his mechanism of talent selection. And he sees his process as probably not that good. Now, Steve Jobs, I think, in the snippet that we'll play just now, does an excellent job of framing and defining exactly what is rare talent and what it brings to an organization. It's a short 1-minute video, and I think it's worth listening to before moving forward.
Which is, I didn't know how to explain it then, but I've thought a lot about it since. Most things in life, the dynamic range between average and the best is at most 2 to 1. Right? Like if you go to New York City and you get an average taxi cab driver versus the best taxi cab driver, you're probably going to get to your destination with the best taxi cab maybe 30% faster. In an automobile, what's the difference between an average and the best? Maybe, I don't know, 20%. The best CD player and an average CD player, I don't know, 20%. So 2 to 1 is a big dynamic range in most of life. In software, and it used to be the case in hardware too, the difference between average and the best is 50 to 1, maybe 100 to 1. Okay? Very few things in life are like this, but what I was lucky enough to spend my life in is like this. And so I've built a lot of my success off finding these truly gifted people and not settling for B and C players, but really going for the A players. And I found something. I found that when you get enough A players together, when you go through the incredible work to find 5 of these A players, they really like working with each other because they've never had a chance to do that before. And they don't want to work with B and C players. And so it becomes self-policing, and they only want to hire more A players. And so you build up these pockets of A players, and it propagates. And that's what the Mac team was like. They were all A players.
So very illuminating and insightful thoughts by Steve Jobs. But this video does 2 things really well. Firstly, I think he does an excellent way of articulating and defining an understanding of giftedness, of rare talent, impactful talent, these A players, as he calls it. And number 2, it's very obvious of what he says, incredible work, the amount of effort and trouble it takes to even find just 5 of these guys, Now, it's clear that spotting exceptional talent has always been a problem. But being able to overcome this problem has a great prize at the end of the tunnel. And that prize is getting that rare talent, being the first to find that rare talent. What's also clear is that no matter the abilities of a scout who may produce a few rare gems here and there, scouts' processes can never scale. It takes a lot of effort, costs a lot of money, takes a long time. So the original way of doing things is not necessarily consistently and reliably repeatable. So this new high bar is precisely the challenge that TINT is confronting. So for TINT, therefore, the winning criteria is rare talent at scale. We've had to ask ourselves, is there anything in the world, and perhaps I posit the question to you as well, can you see anything in the world that scales the identification of rare talent? Something that can literally sift through thousands, even millions of people and get the right outcome relatively quickly. Because in this talent economy, this is something everybody has to absolutely get right. We can't just rely on finding the odd rare talent, the odd diamond here and there. We have to build a diamond mine that can extract these diamonds at scale. That's why we call it rare talent mining. And if the world represents haystacks with a few of these rare talent needles in them, then TINT's product is a powerful magnet, getting all these needles out, these large haystacks, and doing it consistently and reliably. This is what TINT is digitizing. This is our business. All right, let's not belabor the point. Okay, now, how do we create a technique that scales the identification of talent? What is the key to unlocking this? We had to find a new path, and we had to figure out what principles could potentially make this possible. And what we discovered was this principle, which was verbalized by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle of Sherlock Holmes fame. So Arthur Doyle said, mediocrity knows nothing higher than itself, but true talent instantly recognizes genius. And a light bulb went off. And we thought this principle could maybe help us as a starting point to building our product. So by asking the potential rare talent, by reversing the entire process, and instead of asking the talent to audition or show us what they have so we can judge them, what if we flipped it on its head and we asked the rare talent candidate themselves to identify another genius that they can see in a scenario? And this is how we coined this term called reverse spotting. It's a counterintuitive way of thinking. By flipping the whole process on its head, it can become a scalable process, which we can then digitize and manage online. So reverse spotting is potentially the key to a viable path of achieving scale. Now, look, we are not blind to the challenges. And in fact, we quickly realized that even if reverse spotting is the key to scale, there are two major challenges which we'll have to face before TINT's product can work successfully. Challenge number one is codifying this instant recognition piece. How quickly can TINT reliably surface rare talent? And challenge number two is having to deal with all the common hacking models of an assessment, which could lead to inaccuracies. People can guess, people can cheat the system, people can hack the system. So first codifying and then perfecting the system became a top priority for us. Okay, now let's pop open the bonnet and see the engine of how TINT actually works by understanding the underlying code. So it all starts with a crystal clear understanding of what is the minimum exposure required by a rare talent, which would allow him or her to instantly judge or identify another genius, identify another rare talent in his or her field. And this piece of the puzzle we put together alongside a person who is an established rare talent in their field. For example, we asked a two-time world champion MMA fighter, and we asked him a very simple question. We said, Itai, if you had to look at any fighter, what is the minimum you require to determine whether that person has some kind of giftedness or rare talent? We're not even concerned with the average or lousy ones. We just want to separate the very good on the one hand from the special rare talent on the other. And his response was an interesting response. His response was, just show me 3 punches. Show me 3 punches and I can tell you who is gifted rare talent and who is not. And we then moved on to codify this 3-punch test. So gifted rare talent can quickly, with the bare minimum of data points, see who in their field is rare talent and who is not. Maybe someone could be quite good, but not necessarily rare talent, as it were. And our process of codifying this pattern fitting of instant recognition is really where the magic of TINT's IP lies. And we leveraged the exemplary methods of giants like Professor Richard Feynman, Daniel Kahneman, and Edward Deming to develop a reliable system to codify this instant recognition pattern fitting approach of those that have rare talent. And, it showed us that relying on pattern fitting, that's used by recognized rare talent can help develop a reliable system. Now, TINT's IP allows us to sit with any rare talent in any industry and codify the key core components of their instant recognition pattern fitting methods and build out assessment games based on that. So that's how the pattern fitting works, and that's how reverse spotting unlocks the pathway to scale. Now, of course, we had to take steps to perfect the game because the risk of possible error in the results of the TINT assessments is ever present, particularly when the stakes are high. You know, the kind of opportunities that wait on the other side for those who can pass the test. It's only natural that people will try and cheat the system, which possibly causes selection errors on our side. But I'm sure by now you've realized that there are several challenges that the TINT gamified assessments have had to overcome to make the assessments robust and reliable. So given the power law distribution of impactful rare A players, our expectation is set at uncovering around 1 to 10 potential rare talents out of every 1,000 people going through the TINT assessments. But as an additional step to maintain the accuracy and quality of output and to avoid people hacking or guessing, for instance, which would lead to false positives, initially the game was backed by real humans who serve as an in-house panel of experts. These people are rare talents in their industries already, what we call the gifted panel or the genius panel. And their role is to double check the 1 to 10 of every 1,000 who make it through the TINT assessments to verify that they are indeed rare gems. And in this way, we get the feedback to calibrate the product for better reliability and consistency. And this continuous error feedback loop allows errors to be identified and reduced, with the view, of course, to, at some point, automating the constant error feedback loop. So that's what the TINT platform is. If you look at that white bar at the bottom, that represents the platform by which TINT produces rare talent at scale. That we've, incorporating all the elements that we've alluded to in the previous slides. This is the end-to-end solution. So, for example, a law firm may want to use the whole platform in their company, branded according to their needs. And there's already been an expression of interest in a kind of white label solution, which we can provide to those who want an end-to-end product. And on top of this platform are the various components to the solution that make it work. And because it's talent mining, think of it as working exactly like a mine. One big rare talent mine. First, you get all the raw talent and potential candidates coming in. The raw material. They take the TINT Spot the Genius games. They processed and filtered through. This separates the gems from the normal debris. Then the successful participants are taken through the verification and certification step conducted by the Genius panel, who would confirm and certify that the gem is, the real deal. And finally, the TINT certified people who meet the standard are taken to the customer, who is in the market for this type of A player. And we literally schedule an interview and have it, face-to-face, the customer with this TINT certified talent who has received this TINT stamp of approval. So this is a picture of the conveyor belt of our talent mine. And that's really what TINT is. It's a digital solution to discover rare talent at scale. So I want to show you just an example of how this game would look like in real world. This is an example of the gamified assessment in the realm of corporate law. There would be a number of cases, and the person taking the assessment would be presented with a quote or a scenario in a time-sensitive environment, and they're asked at every juncture, is this the words or the conduct of a gifted person or a good person, gifted person or a good person, and so on, in a series of questions. This is another variation of, again, the gamified assessment in the realm of corporate law. Here you've got people around a boardroom table, and they'll be having a conversation. The person taking the game is asked to listen carefully and identify, which of the individuals is gifted and who is not. Maybe this one is the gifted individual. Maybe that one is the gifted individual. And, the game is randomized And in each batch, there may be maybe one gifted person, there may be 3 gifted person, there may be 0 gifted people. And as we speak, we're actually concluding the development of the creation of this game with our technical partner. But we have a library of scenarios which we've already developed for these various assessments. Okay, so the business model, I'm going to keep it brief. Of course, the people taking the assessments have 5 attempts to do it. The first one is free because we don't want money to be an obstacle in potentially uncovering rare talent. And the next attempts are paid. There's a small fee for doing that. So in a way, it's a 2-sided marketplace. But really, the bedrock of the business is in a subscription model that we charge to industry players who are in the market for this rare talent. They are charged a subscription fee for access to this pipeline. And depending on the components of the TINT platform that they want, there's different packages with, varying costs. So that's how we make our money. Currently, the industries that we will be participating in, where there will be assessments, is number 1, will lead with our beachhead market segments of copywriting in the marketing sense, and assessments in corporate and M&A lawyers. The very next case studies we will build out assessments for is in the field of sport, MMA fighters to be particular, entrepreneurs. We will build out the assessment for investors at all stages, angel, venture capital, and private equity, with jazz musicians and with gamification designers, a thing we know one or two things about. So this is the team behind TINT. We all work very closely together. We have a chief scientist in Henning Dupriya, who over the course of his career has leveraged the theory of constraints to produce remarkable results for the businesses he's worked with. Anthony Nathan, who's a non-exec in a business development orientated and strategic thinking type of a commercial role. James Gray, who's our lead generation and growth lead. Gavin, who's in charge of design, branding, and look and feel. And Ernie, who sits on our panel of expert advisors. We've been working together for a few years now, and this is the collaborative effort behind TINT. So very quickly, where are we? What have we done? And what's next for us? We've validated the need for this. We've validated our ability to deliver this. There has been an expression of interest from clients. We have an assessment data library ready to be deployed. The game design has been complete. The very next step is to complete the development of the game itself and to release it to market. So we are in touch with the market. We've got a few potential clients, and we're working around the clock with our internal game dev and design experts to get version 1 out in the market. So that's us. That's what we do. Please feel free to reach out, and we hope it's been illuminating and understanding exactly what TINT does. Cheers.